Dust everywhere.
It's even choking the chickens to death.
Ain't never seen nothing like it, John. Blankets of dust on the roof, on the trees, and even on the fence. Sometimes I lie awake and I listen to the wind whisper in the dead over on Saul Jensen's farm, cornfields. And it sounds like parched tongues crying for water in the lonesome night.
Funny, you and me thinking the same thing at the same time. But what gets me is what's happened to the horses and cows on old Saul and Jensen's farm. The way a cow looks at you when she's dying of thirst, it's almost human.
God's been good to us, John.
I wasn't thinking about myself or about us. After all, we got Transfiguration Springs, our oasis in this Dust Bowl desert. Sarah Jensen is a good woman, but her husband's a damn fool. He's got a boulder in his mind as big as any boulder in the Springs. A boulder of race prejudice.
You know something, John?
What's on your mind, Benita? I can never guess, because you always come up with some strange idea.
Do you know what this date is, John Pearson?
All days are alike in this valley of dry bones.
This is August 6th.
So what?
If a man could hardly happen to remember an anniversary, the heavens would fall.
I clearly forgot, Benita, this very day 10 years ago, when we came in our covered wagon to a fork in the Santa Fe Trail. We stood there at the crossroads a long, long time. Should we settle in Indian territory or join the gold rush in California? You know, Benita, life is funny. There we were, a green bridegroom and even greener bride. Just out of slavery in Virginia. Then you saw that beautiful spring with its clear, fresh water. And you said right out of the blue, John, this is our Garden of Eden. We'll settle right here. Then you said, John, what day of the month is this? I said, August 6th. And you said, Transfiguration Day. Good luck.
Then I said something which you said you'd always remember.
I don't remember what you said. But I do know I took my pickaxe and cut out Transfiguration Springs on the upper boulder. Still there.
Why is it a man can never remember the really important things? I said, John, I will always love you till the day I die.
Have you ever regretted it? Come in.
Mr. Pearson, it's a wonder after the way my husband treated you.
I'm sure my husband bears malice towards none of our neighbors.
The fact is, if my wife hadn't taken my gun, I'd have shot your husband.
I understand. He's very high-tempered.
Especially when it comes to Negroes and Yankees.
After Abe set the slaves free, he lost everything, and he's never been able to accept that fact.
With cattle and horses dying all the time.
Jensen,
all my neighbors water from the spring. Your husband was the only one who refused. Why?
Excited.
Because I'm black. And on top of that, he insulted me.
I'm not trying to rush you or anything, but you know, we women, we need a new hat or a dress or something on this frontier, or else we'll be headed toward the asylum.
You're so full of hope, Mrs. Pearson. I always feel better after talking to you. And tonight, I couldn't stand it anymore. I just had to come and see you.
You make me feel so proud.
Proud?
Yes. It's the proudest thing in the world for someone to trust you.
Well, that's kind of you, Mrs. Pearson. Well, I hardly know where to begin. Maybe we should start with pride. My husband is too proud. Since the drought, he's taken to drink. One morning, I found him drunk beside a dead cow.
Why, Miss Jensen?
That isn't all. For 7 days now, he's been disappearing from the house between the hours of midnight and dawn. I don't know what he's doing in those ungodly hours, but he comes back incredibly muddy and exhausted.
Muddy in all this dust?
That is strange, Mrs. Jensen. But as you say, there's all kinds of pride in all kinds of men. Sometimes pride is like a tree in a storm. It'll break before it'll bend. Come in.
What's this? Plot of some kind?
I was just telling Miss Jensen I needed to see her about the pattern that she got from Kansas City.
If you ask me, there's a way for a man to enter another man's house.
You may be sure there's only one thing I'm here for.
Oh, I just knew you were going to pay us a visit. I could feel it in my bones. Didn't I just say that? I told John 2 weeks ago Mr. Jensen is going to pay us a visit, just like all of our other good neighbors. Then I told John that God has put Transfiguration Springs here for all of us in this time of drought.
That's a beautiful thought, Mrs. Pearson.
I didn't come here to hear a sermon about the inscrutable ways of God to man. Frankly, I'm puzzled by the strange turn of events.
I can't understand how a human being can stand to see cattle drop dead for want of water when only a fence separates death from life.
I'd die myself before I asked a black man for a drop of water.
But you would steal it first, wouldn't you?
My God, what are you driving at now?
This. For the last 7 days, what have y'all been doing between midnight and dawn?
Between midnight and dawn?
You heard me, Mr. Saul Jensen. Now, the Cimarron is so dry it couldn't wet the whiskers of a crawfish. So how do you get your feet muddy every night?
Sarah,
What you smelling ain't cooking, Mr. Jensen.
are you trying to accuse me of something?
No, I accuse you of nothing. But we have a saying down here in the Southwest. A thief's footprint is in the forefinger of justice. Now, your footprints were found all around Transfiguration Springs. And the forefinger of justice is pointed right at your ranch.
Come in, Mr. Logan.
Howdy, folks.
What's on your mind, Mr. Logan?
Well, we're having a square dance at my house tonight, and the wife sent me over to see if you and Mrs. Pearson would come along. You know how women are. So my wife remembered that tall tale about the Pearsons and Transfiguration Springs, and since this is their anniversary, and they've been so good to us by letting us have water in this drought, and since it seems God has blessed us first in one way and then another, and since we ain't gonna travel this way but once, anyhow, well, I guess this year's spring has kind of, sort of, transfigured us all. What's that in your hand, Logan? Why is the hat?
Yours?
Now wait a minute, Ernest,
Where did you get it?
I picked it up this afternoon when I got water from the springs for my cows and horses.
Since the Confederate flag doesn't belong to Pearson, why'd you bring it to Pearson?
All our neighbors felt that Pearson should know. Should know what?
Mr. Jensen.
Now, this is my little showdown, all right? Mr. Logan, go on. Go on, man.
When Herb Beavers found the hat yesterday at Transfiguration Springs.
Let the cat out's the box, Logan. You're among friends, as the saying goes.
Herb and the neighbors felt that Pearson should know who
was dirty enough to steal the water they could have got for the asking? You know, my neighbors know every damn thing but how to keep their snouts out of my personal business.
There's something in the good book about being your neighbor's keeper.
A brother's keeper knows how to keep his trap shut.
How can a neighbor keep his mouth shut when a man across the fence with malice aforethought stands idly by and sees his own cattle go crazy with thirst, while the skins on their back turn to leather?
So my own wife turns against me.
Not yet, but almost. It was 2 Sundays ago. I was on my way home from church. You know that in places the Cimarron is so low and salty that cows refuse to drink? Well, this awful thing happened to Bessie. Bessie, who I raised as a pet calf. I wanted to tell you about it, Saul, but I knew that if I tried, feeling as I did, I'd say something that no wife should say about her husband, living or dead.
Sarah, I tried to save Bessie. I knew how you cared about her, and I tried to give her the little water I had in preference to the others. Then I missed her. Yes, it was 2 Sundays ago. What happened to her?
Herb Beavers and me have talked to the neighbors about it.
There you go again with that local stuff about you and the neighbors again.
Well, Bessie waded into the mud to cool off in the ooze and green scum of the Cimarron.
Stop gulping like a turkey gobbler.
Herb saw Mrs. Jensen get down from her horse and run along the bank. Just as Bessie plunged into the mire and was sucked under, Mrs. Jensen seemed to go sorts of blank and started to wade out there.
Oh my God.
Then it was that John Pearson, who was ahead of us, threw his rope around her, lassoed Mrs. Jensen back to the bank. Then Mrs. Jensen fainted, and Herb and I took her home.
So it was you, Mr. Pearson, who saved my life? God bless you.
How blind can a man be?
So that's the reason Herb asked me, Herb and the neighbors, to bring this Confederate hat. Saul Jensen's hat to John Pearson. You know why we done it, Saul Jensen? We wanted John Pearson here to know that in spite of your pride as a white man, you were low down and dirt enough to steal from a black man who saved the life of your wife. Of course, when I came over here tonight, I didn't think it would turn out like this.
Neither did I. You live to learn and you learn to live. My grandfather in Virginia
Was one of the first families.
damn right. He christened me Saul.
And just as ancient Saul was hard on Christians.
I was hard on niggers. Mr. Pearson, go with the parallels. On the road to Damascus, Saul got the hell beat out of him. Seems everyone was pretty satisfied with that.
Except for one thing.
What's that, Mrs.
Saul, does it choke you to call a Negro woman Mrs.?
Mrs. Pearson? You are about to ask the noblest of Virginians a question.
It's about the square dance. I like that term, square dance. Square. A square deal for us all. And I'd like you and Mrs. Jensen to come with us. I know.
I was coming from church.
Cut. What's wrong?
A
It's a
mouse.
mouse.
A mouse.
Oh,
What? What?